In this video, we're going to talk about the XFL's new rules, including kickoff, 2-point conversions, having 1 foot in bound, and more. Let's check it out.
You gotta be possessed with the dream.
The XFL's opening weekend was a smash success with new rules, new introductions to the game that we've never seen before. It not only brought excitement to the game, it brought a whole new feel to the game that I don't think any of us expected. We're going to look at some of the new rules that I personally love, and it was well received by the football community. First, let's start with the kickoff. And I think this was the biggest surprise to all football fans. We heard there was changes coming to the kickoff. We just had no idea what was coming. And this was a real big wrinkle that I think will have a smashing success, especially for the NFL, for college, and it could even trickle down to high school just to keep the game safer from a kickoff perspective, but still not lose that kickoff aspect of beginning a game. All right, so let's dive into what actually changed on kickoff. And as you're going to see in the picture above, the kicker has to start at the 30-yard line, and he has to kick the ball in the air to the 20-yard line. If it fails to reach the 20-yard line in the air, it is automatically a penalty, and the other team will get the ball on the 45-yard line. Yes, so there is a penalty for not kicking the ball in the air. And I'm sure some of you are sitting there saying, well, what about onside kicks? And we'll cover that in a minute. The 10 players have to line up on the 35-yard line and the 30-yard line, 5 yards apart from each other. Now, this was the big change because players were running down full speed and colliding with each other, and that's where the concussions and the injuries and the knee tears were happening because of that high impact at such a high rate of speed. What the XFL did was they put the players 5 yards away from each other. That way there's still some contact, but it still gives the ability for the return team to be able to open up holes for the returner. Now, once the ball is kicked and the ball is caught by the kick returner, it just turns into regular football from here. Again, the rules, if the ball goes out of bounds, it's a penalty. If the ball goes through the end zone, it's a touchback. So nothing has changed except for the players lining up and, of course, that kicking rule where it has to reach the 20-yard lines. As mentioned, this gives the returner an opportunity to actually make a play, and it brings an exciting part of football back into the game, not just kicking the ball through the end zone every time where it's boring and then just put the ball on the 25-yard line and play from there. So this is actually a really cool change and a really cool shake-up to the traditional kickoff, which I think will trickle down into every league within the next 5 years. The next major change is the conversions after a touchdown. And the NFL tried to go from the 3-yard line all the way back to the 30-yard line to kick the football. The XFL did away with all that. And after you score a touchdown, you have the option to go for 1 point from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 5-yard line, or a 3-point play from the 10-yard line. This was an awesome idea because it keeps every team in the game. Usually a 9-point game, okay, I need to score a touchdown and I need to kick a field goal, so it's a 2-possession game. Not in the XFL. If you score a touchdown and you're down 9, there's still a chance to tie the football game. This has made the game so much more exciting. It's made gambling much more exciting too because teams are winning by different spreads, and it's completely shaken up the game of football. I'm a huge fan of this. I love it because it just makes the game more exciting. It adds another play. Another major shakeup in the XFL is the 2-minute warning timing rules. Now, this is different because when a player gets tackled in bounds, typically in the NFL, the play will always keep going unless the other team calls a timeout. In the XFL, it's completely different. Plays that end in the field of play, meaning they get tackled in bounds, the game clock stops for the ball spot, and then a 5-second runoff of the play clock will happen. So if you're familiar with the NCAA rules, the clock will stop after a first down, the ball will get spot, and then the clock will run. This is similar to that. The clock stops, the ball gets spot, and then a 5-second runoff of the play clock, not the game clock, will happen. Incomplete passes and out-of-bounds plays, those stay the same if they're able to get out of bounds or it's an incomplete pass. The clock will automatically stop. There's no change in that between the NFL, NCAA, or even high school. But the major change is that when the player gets tackled in bounds, the clock stops for the ball spot, and then a 5-second runoff of the play clock happens. The next change isn't so much for the fans, but it's a massive change for the coaches and the players. The coaches are now able to talk directly to all the skill players, meaning receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks, all have a speaker in their helmet where they can hear the coach. Now, the play clock was decreased from 40 seconds to 25 seconds, meaning that teams have to run plays faster. The more plays, the more action for a fan. So what the XFL allowed was for quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers to have speakers in their helmet. That way they can hear the coach, get lined up, and run the play. the quarterback does have to relay the line protection, obviously to the offensive line in order to run the play effectively. But this brought a huge change because it means less huddling up, less time between plays, and more plays and action for both the players and the fans. Typically in the NFL, only one player is allowed to hear what the coach is saying to be able to relay it to the players. The XFL is completely shooking this up, and I think this is something that will carry over to other leagues. But for now, I think this is a great change to keep the tempo of the game going and keeping fans and players both interacted with the game. Some other major changes as well is the receiver only needs to get 1 foot down in bounds in order to secure a catch. In the NFL, it's 2 feet. In the NCAA, it's only 1 foot as well. So they've really adopted this rule to make bigger catches happen and allow receivers to be more dynamic with their types of catches in order to establish only 1 foot inbounds. These were the major changes for the XFL. The XFL has done an amazing job on their opening weekend in order to bring hype to a league that a lot of people think wouldn't work the second time around, but the first weekend was outstanding and extremely fun to watch. And I hope these new rule changes do carry over to other leagues, and that way it makes it more safe. As shown in these clips here, there are still some big hits, and they allowed the big hits to happen and allowed the crowd and the fans to get into it. So by allowing the big hits, but also changing things like kickoff, they're trying to make the game safer, but also allow football to still be its physical style of play, what the fans love, and also what the players love too. That way they're not always worrying about a fine every time they try to go hit someone. So let us know what you think. Do you like these rule changes? Do you hate these rule changes? And do you think they'll carry over into other leagues? Comment below, let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys next time.